Hey everyone, so in this video I'm going to be talking about Ruby hashes. So a hash is a data structure that allows you to store data under a key value pair. So you can store a value in this data structure in a Ruby hash and then access it by a key which looks the value up in constant time. So an array, normally if you have an array, so in this case we're passing in the array 1, 2, 3, 100. So if you wanted to find the value in this array, you'd have to loop through the array looking for the value, or you can call a Ruby function like select or something. But what a hash allows you to do is you can store values in this hash and then simply look them up by a key name. So to create a hash, I'll just give it the variable name h, and you can call hash.new. And so now what you can do is you can store values in this hash. So h of name, so you do it by doing these brackets. So h of name equals Daniel, and then h of age equals 100. And so now you can do something like return h of name. So if we run the code, we should get Daniel, and we get Daniel. So now we can actually look at the whole hash. We can just call the inspect function, and now if we run it, we should get name is Daniel, age is 100. So these are the values in our hash. And you can access these values, Daniel and 100, by their names, so name and age. So another way to create a hash is to just write all of these key value pairs in one line. So instead of doing hash.new, you can do the curly brackets. And here you can do name, and now you have to do the syntax equals, we have to make this arrow. So name is Daniel, comma, age 100. And you can have several different types of values in a hash. So you can have something like stuff, and now you can have an array, 1, 2, 3. So now if we return this hash, we'll get the same output, name, age, stuff. So now if we want to access some sort of value in it, we can do stuff. And then we can return the array as a string, and we get 1, 2, 3. So this is how you can store stuff in a hash. You can either do it like this, or you can call hash.new and then one by one add the key values. So you might be wondering what you can use a hash for. One example is if you wanted to find the mode of an array of numbers. So in this case, if we had something like 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4. So in this case, the mode is the most frequent occurring number, and in this case, you can see that it's 3. It occurs the most times. It occurs 4 times. So if you had an array passed into this function and you want to find out what the mode is, you can loop through. You can loop through the array, maintain an account for every single number you encounter, and then at the end find the number with the highest count. So let's write that code here. So this is the array we're going to pass in. So what we'll do is we'll create a new hash, hash.new, and you can pass in a default parameter. So we'll pass in the default parameter of 0. And now what we'll do is we'll loop through the array each do x, and we'll add it into the hash. So the hash has no values. What we're going to do is hash of x. So as we're looping through the array, we're getting the key h of x. So the first element will be 1, for example. So we're going to get the value in the hash table of 1, which is by default is 0. And all we're going to do is add 1 to it, plus equal 1. And we do this for each element. And now if we return the hash, you'll see that we'll have a hash of values. So 1 occurred once, 2 occurred once, 3 occurred 4 times, and 4 occurred twice. And so you created a hash really easily with this function right here. So now if you wanted to find what the mode was, you would just loop through this hash, and you can find the maximum occurring number. So for example, so you can loop through a hash table as you would a normal array. So now you can do something like max is nil, and then hash each do. So now you can loop through the hash table and getting the keys and values. And so now you can do if, so max is nil, Actually, let's do max -1. So if hash of key is greater than max, set max equal to hash. So set max equal to the key, end. And then we can return max. Set max equal to k. We actually want to set it equal to h k. Okay, so here if we run this code, we get 3. And that's because as we loop through the hash, we're checking if the hash of the key, so you saw before that 1 occurred once, twice, 2 occurred once, 3 occurred the most times. So if the value of 3 is greater than max, set max equal to k. So we're looping through the hash table and we're trying to find the maximum occurring element, and which is 3 in this example. So this is a really simple application of a hash in Ruby. And then there are really a few interesting functions that you can perform on hashes. So let's get rid of this code we wrote. And you can actually, so for example, if you wanted just the keys, you can do return h and then keys. So keys, this will return an array. And now let's convert this to a string. And we get just the keys, which will be 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the keys. So in this here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 100, 233. So we'll get 1, 2, 3, 4, 100, 233. And you can also get the values. So these are the values of them. You can also check if a hash is empty by doing hash empty. And this will return true or false. So run your code. We should get false. And then you can also check the length of a hash. So h length. In this case, we should get like 6 or something. 7. So there's 7 elements in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 100, 233. And then a few other functions so you can get the index. So you can pass in h index and you can pass in a value. So let's pass in 4. So this will give us the key. So we're passing in the value 4 and it will give us the key under which it occurs. So if we pass in h index 4, we should get 3. And we get 3. Because as you saw before in the hash, 3 occurred 4 times. And so I showed you keys, values, the length, if it's empty. And you can also, one more important thing is you can check if a hash contains a certain key. So you can do has key, and then you can pass in, so does it have the key 1000? And it's false. But does it have the key 3? And this is true because as you see, 3 exists here. So these are a few interesting functions for hashes, and I showed you a really simple application of a hash. Thanks for watching.